Welcome everybody to the very first episode of the Wookiee Show! And I am your host, Jake the Wookiee Schultz. And I've been on a couple podcasty video things before, The Ways of the Force, and I'm currently making a movie show called The Movie Weirdos. And yeah, haven't had a Star Wars show in a little bit, and Force Friday has had me to wanna get my Star Wars itching, if you know what I mean. Just can't stay away from the wars. It's too addicting. It's crazy. There's so much going on. Force Friday has me all hyped for The Last Jedi, and tonight there was some huge breaking Star Wars news, so I'm ready to dive right into all of it, and let's talk some Star Wars together. So, the big news that just broke this evening was that Colin Trevorrow is now exiting Episode 9. He was originally slated to write the script as well as direct Episode 9, but it looks like Lucasfilm is parting ways with Colin. They basically summarize something in a short, quick little public release, but and they're going with the same thing of creative differences. Excuse me while I drink some beer. I'm sorry if I appear sweaty. I just got done stacking some firewood. Yeah. I'm crazy. But, yeah, Colin Trevorrow, Lucasfilm has not had a good time with directors lately. Rogue One was a mess, and they completely had to reshoot about half of the movie, they're reporting. But they kept Gareth Edwards in because he got along with Kathleen Kennedy and the rest of the Lucasfilm studio execs a little bit better. But Han Solo was plagued with issues. Phil Lord and Chris Miller were fired in the middle of filming. So it looks like maybe Lucasfilm is seeing their past mistakes and they want to get this thing just right before they start filming Episode 9. So they parted ways with Colin Trevorrow. Now the question is, who's going to be directing Episode 9? Now, we haven't seen The Last Jedi yet, and so we have no idea what it's like or how it's going to turn out, but Rian Johnson has had no problems in production. Filming was super fast. I don't think they hardly did any reshoots at all on The Last Jedi, and he's big with all the fans. He was super cool during Star Wars Celebration, and he really seems to be enthusiastic about Star Wars. So I think he is the man to direct Episode 9, and he would get to see his full creative vision take place by directing Episode 8 and Episode 9. Now some people are saying, why not bring J.J. Abrams back? Well, I'd rather maybe see Rian Johnson continue and finish off this trilogy. While I love The Force Awakens, it fit J.J. Abrams' style well of just basically rebooting and bringing Star Wars back into the mainstream again, being back after upteen years. So I think Rian Johnson seems to want to do it. Why not let the man who wants to do it do it? So that's kind of the big breaking news tonight. Was Colin Trevorrow exiting Episode 9. So the other kind of big Star Wars news lately was, of course, Force Friday. So it's the big merchandising event sensation, Force Friday. And the wife and I went to old Toys R Us. We learned our lesson from previous years. For the first Force Friday, we went to Walmart. We were one of 4 people there. And we did get free cupcakes, and, they actually had a decent selection of merchandise. So last year we decided, we'll go to Walmart again. And we show up, and they didn't even have any of the Rogue One stuff out of the boxes and ready at midnight. So we're like, oh crap, what do we do? So we went over to Toys R Us. We were already, past midnight, but we went into Toys R Us last year, and basically they had a pretty good selection of Rogue One merchandise. Got, the couple K2SO action figures I wanted. I got the 3.75 as well as the Black Series. But I didn't get too much for Rogue One. But they had a pretty good selection. So I, figured, hey, this year they had a pretty good selection at Toys R Us. I'll go there for the Last Jedi Force Friday. Well, I show up about, it was about 11:45, and there was already about 60 people at Toys R Us. So I'm like, crap, we're not going to get anything. And, getting in, we only got the free poster. Apparently, they didn't get any of the t-shirts in. So we basically had to write our name and number down, and yeah, we're probably never getting those free t-shirts. I highly doubt it. But, so we went in, they had some of the Last Jedi stuff in the front, and then the usual spot in Toys R Us, opposite side of the store, they had some stuff over there. But it was fairly slim pickings this year for Force Friday. The Toys R Us I went to had no new Black Series figures. They had Rogue One, and they had a whole bunch of Constable Zuvio ones still out on the shelves. And so, I wasn't able to get any Black Series figures. I really wanted Luke Skywalker because, it's the first Luke Skywalker figure out in years, and I was a big fan of the Power of the Force toys when I was a kid. So I was like, oh, I wanted Luke Skywalker. It would look great next to my Return of the Jedi Power of the Force Luke. But they didn't have the 3.75 Luke or the Black Series Luke. So, it was fairly disappointing. But I was able to get a couple other, interesting things at Force Friday. The first thing I got was this electronic Kylo Ren, which is pretty cool. He's not very movable, but what can you do? And you can take his helmet off, which, it fairly looks like Adam Driver as Kylo Ren. So I'm pretty impressed with, the overall likeness of him. You can't really do much. But then the coolest part is just the electronic part. You turn him on, maybe. There we go. His lightsaber lights up, says a bunch of stuff. You can, basically make sound effects. I made my own sound effects just now, but, pretty cool. Pretty cool figure. Not bad for the price. Compared to a lot of the other stuff, I'm like, I'll get this. Looks pretty cool. So that was one of the things I got. And I was hoping maybe for a little more Funko Pops, but basically since I was pretty far behind in line at Toys R Us, it was slim pickings. But I was able to get the one I kind of wanted, actually. And that is Luke Skywalker, who is looking awesome. He's got a walking stick. He's got a sweet backpack. He basically looks like a wandering Jedi, and that's awesome. This is a great looking Funko Pop, and I'm excited to put it on my shelves next to some of my other ones. And that was all I got at Force Friday, actually. It was very slim pickings, but going back, I, jumped on the Porg train. As you can see, I got the Chewie Porg shirt, and I'm like, hey, why not get, have a baby due out in December, so I'm like, why not get my unborn child some Porg things? So I got her, little Porg stuffed animal. You can clip it on, car seat and whatnot, and he makes crazy Porg noises. or she. Don't know if it's a male or female Porg. Don't know, who knows if they have genders. Don't really know that much about Porgs. Just know they're the resident, fellow residents on ahch-to, along with Luke Skywalker. So, interested to see, all the Porgs. Pretty cool. And then got the big plush Porg, who's pretty awesome. He's not electronic. Thought about getting the electronic one, but it's like $40, and I'm like, is that worth it? I don't know. I think my baby will just, want a little stuffed animal plush Porg, and I think she'll be fairly content with that. So, and Porgs have basically hit the fandom. People, are embracing the Porg for the most part, or, some people might see them as the next Ewok, which I'm completely fine with Ewoks. I was a kid, well after Return of the Jedi came out. I was a kid in the early 90s, so I loved Ewoks. I watched, Star Wars on VHS. Return of the Jedi, my favorite Star Wars movie. So, those are, some of the hauls I got from Force Friday and, the day after Force Friday. I guess they should call that, like, Sith Saturday. I don't know if that's a thing. If it is, let me know. Otherwise, I'm coining it. Sith Saturday. But, yeah, that's kind of the interesting things of Star Wars news right now. There were a lot of other tidbits dropped from the release of all the Star Wars merchandise. They updated a whole bunch of Star Wars databank items, and they've released some images of different ships. You got to see the Super Star Destroyer that Snoke is probably on. It's like this giant wedge-shaped ship, and yeah, it's going to be pretty cool. So a lot of interesting little Last Jedi tidbits, just coming out. The movie comes out in 3 months. Super excited for it. I couldn't be any happier. I think Rian Johnson is going to do a remarkable job with this film. So I'm excited to see it. And that's about it for Star Wars news this week. I am Jake the Wookiee. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake the Wookiee. And hope you like this video. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a like. Throw some comments down. And let me know what you want to see in a second episode. I'm, up for suggestions. Always throw me some questions if you want. I can answer questions on the next show. So I'm Jake the Wookiee. This has been The Wookiee Show.